For a long while now, the Scottish First Division has been dominated by two clubs, Rangers and Celtic. But saying that, for the last 13 seasons, Rangers have only won the title once in 2020. And whilst they thought that might have broke up Celtic's dominance, Celtic have then gone on, with this season included, to win 3 titles in a row. So we're going to try and change that in today's rebuild. Now, not only will I be trying to take Rangers to the top of the Scottish football pyramid, but actually, I'm going to aim in 5 years as manager to win the Champions League. Now that might seem a little bit ambitious, and I'm not going to lie, I'll be more than happy with any of the other European trophies, but I'm going to aim high and go for that Champions League. The reason being, if we are top of the Scottish League table, where I hope we will be in this rebuild, we're going to be competing in the Champions League anyway, so we might not actually have a chance to win any of those other European trophies, so that might be our only shot at success. Now we already have a lot on our side here at Rangers, great facilities, a massive fan base and a big reputation, and the club's financial situation is pretty healthy, with £10 million in the balance, at least in Football Manager, and £5 million of transfer debt. And it's not like we need to rise up the Scottish table to start challenging for a title. We're already there. We're just a pretty significant distance off of Celtic, who are odds-on favourites to win the title. We've got 2-1 odds, which isn't too bad, and that's because we've got some great players in our team. Former England international Jack Butland is the best goalkeeper in the division according to The Game. Former Norwich player Todd Cantwell is a brilliant player for this level, and leading our defence is the 30-year-old Connor Goldson. And there's also some great young prospects at the club as well. Turkish defender Rıdvan Yılmaz has a big future, as does homegrown academy product Leon King, and Nicholas Raskin could potentially be a future Belgian international. And that's just a few of the good players in our squad. There's Abdullah Simmer as well, John Lundstrom, we've got James Tavernier of course, and even Fabio Silva, the £50 million striker on loan from Wolves. Now going into our first transfer window, it's likely to be a quiet one with only 800k of transfer budget and not much room to wiggle in the wages, but either way, we're going to see what transfers we can do, and then we can really start kicking on in future seasons. But let's see who we can sell and who we can sign. And I've actually been able to add 2 pretty good players to our squad. I sold some transfer clauses, which gave us a bit more money in the transfer budget to bring some players in. And my first signing was Ronnie Edwards, a 20-year-old English defender signing from Peterborough. He was in the Championship with them, got relegated into League One, but has played a lot of football for a man that is so young. £4 million is the fee, and I think that's not too bad for a very good young defender with the potential to get better still. And we've also added a young striker to our forward line. Ivan Azon is in for the season, 20 years of age, signing for 3.5 million from Zaragoza. He's not expected to be our number 1 striker just yet, but age 20, he's got some time to grow. This season, I imagine Fabio Silva's going to be the main man, and then Ivan Azon, once that loan is finished, can start picking up more minutes. Tactically, I'm going to be starting with a very basic 4-2-3-1, and this is currently our best 11 according to The Game. Jack Butland's in goal, who you've already met. Of course, there's James Tavernier in the right back slot, age 31. Connor Goldson and Ben Davis make up our back line, with Borna Barisic in the last year of his contract as our first choice left back. In the midfield, we've got John Lundstrom, there's also Ryan Jack, and then on top of them in the attacking line, we've got Sima on loan from Brighton, alongside Todd Cantwell, Rabbi Matondo, the Welsh international, and then up front is Danilo, a recent signing, the Brazilian 24-year-old joining for a big fee of 5 million from Feyenoord. So fingers crossed he can score some goals for us. In terms of the season preview, it's changed ever so slightly. Instead of 2-1 odds, we've now got 15-8 odds of winning the title. So it's got up slightly, but it's not necessarily a huge change. Either way though, we're going to give it a good shot in our first season and start building on from there. If we want to try and win a European trophy, we need to get off to a flyer really. And this season got off to a poor start. We lost 4-0 to Servette in a Champions League qualifier, which meant we weren't going to the UCL and we were dropping down into the Europa League. But thankfully, we put that behind us and we went on to have an unreal season. The highlight of it might have been this 1-0 win at the Ibrox, where we faced off against Barcelona in the Europa League knockout round. Danilo scored the only goal of the game to make it 1-0. We did then go on to get knocked out 4-0 at the Nou Camp, but no one could take that day away from us, and that was one of many big matches we had this season because we actually made it to the Scottish Cup final against our rivals Celtic. Now our matches against them this year were a bit hit and miss. We won some, there was some draws, Celtic won some too, but in the cup final we got off to a flyer with a great goal from Tavernier from the edge of the box in the 27th minute. And not too long before half time we managed to add a second, Sima leaping highest past the goalkeeper, and again it was that loanee from Brighton, Sima, driving into the area and banging a shot past the goalie to make it 3. And with only 20 minutes to play, Danilo scored this screamer that made it 4-0. Granted, Celtic did have a man sent off that game, but we absolutely smashed them in the Scottish Cup final to add our first piece of silverware to the cabinet. But that wasn't the only trophy we won, because we smashed Celtic in the league, 97 points, they only had 83, a poor season from them, a great season for us. That might seem unrealistic to go straight in and win the title, but this Rangers squad with the loanies we had were clearly good enough. Sima and Fabio Silva were vital this season, so what we're going to do next year without them, I'm not too sure, but this is something we can try and build on to make this long-term success, and then we can try and start competing in Europe. I do need to mention how important those loanies were and what we're missing out on, because Fabio Silva scored 33, Oscar Cortez on loan from RC Lens managed to score 19, and there was 26 from Brighton loanee Abdullah Sima, so that's over 60 goals between those three that we're going to be losing next year when they leave their loan deals. But saying that, we asked Leon King to play as much football as possible, and he's developed very nicely this season, as has Ronnie Edwards, who is now a very talented centre-back, and we have got some good talent in this team. We're just going to have to try and replace those crucial players that we'll be losing from loan. The only problem is we've been given £0 of transfer budget, a bit of wage budget which we might be able to move around, but realistically if we want to make any improvements to this squad, we're going to have to sell some players and bring some new ones in. And we definitely did some great business in Season 2, but before I can show you that, I just want to ask you guys to do me a huge favour, if you could. If you've watched the videos, you know what's coming. Smash that like button for me, it really will help the videos out. And subscribe if you haven't already, as we push in on 40k subs. That's the next target before we eventually go for 50. So thank you to anybody who does that. We've got weekly Football Manager rebuilds here for you. And if you want to dictate who we're going to manage next, then comment down below what rebuild you want to see. I take all of your suggestions into account, and every one we do is based on one of your comments. Finally, if you want to support me as a creator, you can find my Patreon linked in the description over there. Not only can you support me, but you will in turn get access to all of the save files from every rebuild we've done, season 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so you can take over at the clubs, give these rebuilds a go yourself and see if you can do a better job than me. But I'd be surprised if you could do a better job, because we have just made some brilliant transfers. Firstly, I got Cyril Dessers at the club. I have no idea why Rangers spent so much money on him. Maybe he's good in real life, I don't know. But he played one time for us last year, clearly not deemed a very good player in FM at least, so we sold him on to Empoli for a real cut price fee of only 425k. But we were able to do that because we got some good money from Todd Cantwell. He wanted to go to Al Qadsiya out in Saudi Arabia when they came along, and I couldn't really reject him. As good as Cantwell was for his last season, 18 million is a great fee to turn around on a player that only cost them 1.5 million 2 years ago. He's a fantastic talent, but we'll take all of that money and we'll reinvest it into the squad. It should also be noted Ryan Jack retired, John Lundstrom left as a free agent, and Borna Barisic also left the club on a free. Coming in though, we had the permanent signing of Mohamed Diamonde, who was in on loan last season. I didn't do this business, it was already set up to happen. Rangers have already agreed a £4.5 million fee, and I think that's not too bad. The Ivorian is a very big talent, someone we can rely upon for the future, and a nice addition to the team. We've added some depth at fullback with the signing of Brandon Williams, who not only covers that Borna Barisic spot at left back with Yilmaz, but also can play as a right back. Of course, he's a Manchester United player currently in real life, might have been let go by now, I don't know, but he was at Ipswich last season on loan. He had a pretty poor time there in the FM world. You will see, by the way, that Ipswich was supposedly in the Premier League here. That's because I had a download pack only for the English division so far that puts all the teams in their respective leagues that they're going to be in for the 24-25 season, which should hopefully open some doors for some fun rebuilds down the line. I also bought in Davy Klaassen on a free transfer. The 31-year-old Dutch international with plenty of caps is a fantastic player. Yes, he's getting older, but he'll be perfect for this division, I think. Didn't play much at AZ last season, but I don't mind too much. This guy is a very talented option who's going to dominate the midfield in this league, I hope. But someone that definitely should for the long-term future is Franco Gonzalez, a 20-year-old Uruguayan who I have picked up for a fee of 3.5 million. He is a fantastic player, great attributes, coming in from Penarol. I don't know why he was so cheap. I don't know how he's so good, but our scouts found him. Thank you to them. If you don't know, I only use my scouts' recommendations in these videos. I don't use my own knowledge, but Franco Gonzalez is a fantastic signing for us. But the bargain of the window has to be this. Samuel Illing Jr., the 20-year-old Englishman, has signed for 4.4 million from Juventus. Didn't get much game time, was transfer listed, and for that reason we got him at a cut price. He's a great player with a huge potential to get better too. I think he's going to be a fantastic option in the Scottish leagues and maybe one that we can sell on for profit. I think that's the way we're probably going to have to go with Rangers if we want to compete in Europe. We're going to have to sign these young players, develop them and sell them on for more down the line. And already our best 11 is starting to take shape. Yilmaz comes in at left back, Ronnie Edwards is a new addition in centre back for that best 11, Klaassen and Gonzalez is a new look midfield with Haji on the right. Supposedly our best attacking midfielder is Kieran Dow, who I've loaned out to West Brom for the season. Rabbi Matondo is still one of the best on the left, and Danilo is still supposedly our best striker, but there's plenty of great options on the bench now. Ivan Azon will hopefully get some more game time now that Fabio Silva is gone, and if we have a look at the season preview, I actually think this is going to be worse than last time. We will see, and it is. The reason that I thought that would be the case is because I think the game will think that we have got worse because we've signed younger players and lost some of the more established, more stable names at the club that we know we're going to do well, but I don't mind. I think we've definitely headed in the right direction here so far with Rangers. Even if the odds don't represent that, I think we've improved this team. Either way, Celtic are favourites yet again, but we know last time they were too, and we managed to win the title, so let's see what we can do in Season 2. And this season we did better in the Champions League. We actually qualified for it, did pretty well in the league phase, but coming towards our last league phase match, we needed some points to get in to the playoff rounds. And it was Porto who were going to be our opposition for the day. Coming to the Ibrox, they got off to a flyer in the first minute through Galeno. They then came forward only 10 minutes later through Wendell, finding Mehdi Taremi to make it 2. Not long afterwards, they came forward through Evan Nilsson, who managed to make it 3. A bit of a calamitous own goal and our heads dropped from there. Porto came forward once more through Galeno, and before you knew it, it was 4-0 to them. Now at this point, any hope of us qualifying for the knockout rounds was pretty much gone. That was until Diomande took this corner in the 42nd minute, found Ivan Azon to pull one goal back. And as the clock struck 55 minutes, Illing Jr. found Diomande. He managed to go forward back to Illing Jr., who slotted it in to make it 4-2. And with the whole of the Ibrox bouncing behind us, Illing Jr. once again picked up the ball, found Brandon Williams in the area, who struck past Diogo Costa to put us 1 goal behind. And in the 85th minute, a poor clearance from the Porto defence found Rabbi Matondo onto Davy Klaassen, who struck low past the goalie, and the game finished 4-4. That was enough to earn us enough points to make it in to the playoff round in the last possible league phase position. Unfortunately, we came up against Bayern Munich, who demolished us 7-2, but no one could take away that brilliant 4-4 result at the Ibrox. That wasn't our only big game of the season though, because we also faced off against Celtic in the League Cup final and lost, but then we came up against them towards the end of the season in the Scottish Cup. They went 1-0 up through Kyogo Furuhashi in the 5th minute, but after a stern team talk just after half time, Ivan Azon pounced on a defensive error to equalise. And with 20 minutes left to go, Brandon Williams in that right back spot find Ivan Azon again to make it 2-1, and that was enough to win the Scottish Cup 2 years in a row. Yes, we lost the League Cup final, but we'll certainly take that. And we have really asserted our dominance this season. The game thought we'd significantly weakened our team, but actually this year we flew out the blocks. We got 101 points, 106 goal difference. It wasn't even a bad year from Celtic, but we only lost 1 game all season. Ivan Azon, as you can see, scored 40. Illing Jr. scored 24. The numbers were off the charts this season with loads of assists too. The team were on fire. We were becoming a dominant force in Scottish football. Still not quite there in European front, but we have got some great players now. I mean, Illing Jr. 33 in all comps, Azon 53 in all comps, 17 for Diomande, 13 for Tavernier, 22 for Danilo, Klaassen got 15 as well, 14 for Gonzalez. All of our transfers work perfectly. You can see the players I was asking the assistant to play as often as possible. The best development we've seen is Ivan Azon, who's now wanted by Real Madrid and is a fantastic talent, and I think should be valued at far more than 25 million. But either way, next season we actually do have some money to spend, £4 million to try and improve this team to be a Champions League competitive squad. I don't think it's going to be possible, but I'm going to see what I can do in the season 3 transfer window. And this was a far bigger transfer window than I could have expected. In Season 2, we actually sold more than we actually spent on players, and the same has happened this season. We have made a huge ton of cash from sales, but I think we've been really shrewd in our incomings. Firstly leaving was Ben Davies. He's gone to Charleroi, age 29. He didn't want to play for us anymore. He's gone for 2.3 million. He didn't play much last season, not because he wasn't a good player, but I was asking the assistant to try and use Leon King and also Ronnie Edwards as often as possible to develop them. Unfortunately, that meant that Ben Davies didn't play much and wanted to go. We also made just under 2 million for Sam Lammers' transfer to Salento, and Kieran Dow has moved to Ipswich for just under 1 million. But the big sale, the one I did not expect, there was interest from Real Madrid and Ivan Azon. I did not think they'd go for him, but they did. He's a fan favourite here at Rangers, but no longer will he be playing for us, because after one season of actually playing, he's moved on to Madrid for 35 million, rising to 50. So we've got an absolute mega fee out of him. He's a very good player, but we could not turn down that money, and we've now tried to reinvest it in the squad in the best way possible. Firstly, we spent absolutely zero on Sepp van der Berg on a free contract. The 23-year-old Dutch former under-21 international is a very good centre-back option, signing from Liverpool after his contract expired there. Nikola Kavlina is here to take over Jack Butland's spot in goal. Butland is still here. I just think we could improve. When I saw Kavlina was available on the market for such a cheap fee, we picked him up. 4.2 million from Lokomotiva out in Croatia, and I think he is an unreal talent in goal. Ivan Azon's replacement up front will be Danilo, who we already had at the club, but also Bruno Bartiacoto. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I almost certainly haven't, but he's a Chilean 24-year-old international with 3 goals in 5 appearances who we've signed from Talleres in Argentina for 7 million. He's been really good over there. The fee could rise to 8, but I think that's not too bad of a deal, even if he's not as good as Azon was. And our last incoming is Ernest Nuama, 21 years of age, £18.5 million from the Belgian divisions, rising potentially to 20 million. He's a very good talent who can play on either wing, and to be honest, no offence to the Scottish divisions, is far above this division's level currently, so I think we've got a real coup here. And at this point, I do feel sorry for Celtic. I don't think there's any way they're going to overthrow us in this rebuild with the team we're building. Kavlina, Brandon Williams, Goldson, Ronnie Edwards and Yilmaz with Klassen, Gonzalez, Nuama, Haji, Illing Jr. and also Danilo, not to count all the great players on the bench, and the fact that most of these guys are all pretty young, so I think we've done a great job here. The club also informed me they're in the process of building a new stadium too, so we're definitely looking towards a future at the club. We're trying to become the dominant force in Scottish football, but now we've talked the talk, we need to walk the walk in Season 3. And this season certainly humbled us a little bit. The Champions League, we got knocked out in the league phase. There was no real story there. We just weren't good enough. And in the actual league itself, the Scottish division, Celtic were much better this year. We were a little bit worse, and they started really breathing down our necks. And with 3 games left of the season, we came up against Celtic at their stadium. We got off to a flyer with Sterling going through into the box and making it 1-0. Celtic have built a great team though. Oscar Bob played it through to Ivan Toney, who managed to score to make it 1-1. And not too long afterwards, a ball into the box found Palestri. He played it back out to the wing, again to Palestri, and Sambi Lokonga finished off. You might have heard some of those names there. We have been upgrading our Rangers team, but Celtic have been upgrading theirs, and it helped them get a 2-1 win against us. And at that point, we now needed to win our last game of the season to win the title. And our final game was against Livingston at home, a game we should win, but we had 30 shots this match. Nothing would go in until this ball fell to Haji, who tucked it away. That was enough to get the win, only 1-0, but that meant we had just secured the title. As you can see, a very tense year for us, only winning the title by 3 points. The goal difference was pretty big, mind you, but Celtic have definitely improved their team. Ivan Toney is just one great player in their lineup. I don't necessarily think their squad is at the level ours is, but they have got some real star names in there that we'd love to have in our team. But that wasn't the only time we faced off against Celtic this year, because again, it was us and them in the final for the League Cup. We went 1-0 up early on through this brilliant header from Klassen. Celtic then pulled a goal back to make it 1-1. And it took until the 103rd minute of extra time for a corner to come in. It was poorly cleared. Nuama was able to find Haji, who crossed it in, and it was Sterling again scoring another important goal for us. So we'd won the league title and we'd won the League Cup. To do the domestic treble, we had to also win the Scottish Cup. And the final was against Celtic. Yet again, the eternal battle continued. Nuama scored this screamer to make it it 1. Haji had a penalty just before half-time to make it 2. And with 10 minutes left to play, Nuamah again got on the ball, played a brilliant ball through to Gonzalez, who managed to tuck it away. That was 3-0. That was 3 trophies won against Celtic. They pushed us right to the wire in every competition, but it wasn't enough, and the domestic treble is ours. So in Season 3, we won 3 trophies and we have some great players to thank for it. Davy Klaassen scored 24 goals, but is going back to join AZ Alkmaar at the end of his contract after this season. So thank you to him. He was a great servant and a brilliant signing, to be honest. I mean, Dujon Sterling as well. Doesn't look like the world's best player, but has been unreal for us so far in this rebuild. Nuamah was great, as was Danilo, Diamonde, Iling Jr. as well. Haji did great. Barty Kyoto scored 23, but maybe wasn't our best performer. Either way, though, we're now going in to Season 4. Only 2 years left to win a title in Europe, and we're not even making the knockout rounds of the Champions League yet. But I've got £5 million to try and do something, so we're going to try and do some business and see if we can improve this team and make them a European contender. And I keep saying it, but it was another massive window. We sold over £40 million worth of players, only spent about 15 million, but again, I think we've upgraded the team. Before I show you those transfers over, last time I'll ask you, if you are enjoying, smash that like button for me. It really will help. But let's see the transfers. Jose Cifuentes has moved to Barcelona SC, a club out in Ecuador, going to his home nation for a fee of 1.7 mil. Jack Butland makes his way back to the Premier League. He's gone to sign for Everton to replace Jordan Pickford for 4.3 million. Barty Kyoto maybe wasn't our best player last year, but did contribute a lot of goals, and that interested Damak, who have gone ahead and paid £14 million for him, so we double our money on him, which I don't think is the worst deal. A signing taken out of our hands though was Ernest Nuamah, who has moved to Manchester United. He's got a value of 90 million. How much did we get for him? Unfortunately, only 26. It was a release clause fee. I wasn't able to do anything about it. I tried to get him to sign a new deal, but no, he wanted to go to United, and you can't really blame him. I said he was already too good for the Scottish division, and that's proved it, but we now have a lot of money to reinvest in the squad. We didn't have to spend any of it though to bring in Amin Adli on a free contract. The Moroccan 26-year-old signs from Bayer Leverkusen. In this world, they didn't win the title, but he has been playing a pretty big part for their squad other than last year where he was let go. I don't think he's going to be amazing, but he's a nice pickup for free. The same goes for Osami Sarawi here. Again, I don't expect him to set the world alight, but age 25, we've got a Norwegian international who can play on the left, signing on a free after his time in the Eredivisie, where he's been okay, not amazing, but pretty decent. We also added Emil Holm as a right-back option, age 26. He's in his prime, the Swedish international. He's joined us after his contract expired for Serie A club Spezia, and I think he's going to be a brilliant right-back for us. And we do have a new striker, Matias Arezzo, the Uruguayan 23-year-old, has signed for 13.5 million, rising to 14 from Granada, where he's been scoring goals for fun in the second division. Fingers crossed that can translate to the Scottish top flight. And I actually really like the team we built here. I would actually say this season it does feel like we've maybe downgraded a little bit. I will say that. But I do think we've still got a very good squad capable of easily winning this division. I said that last year and Celtic got close, but I do think Celtic will struggle to have a year that good again. Our best 11 is now Kavlina, Holm, Van der Berg, Ronnie Edwards, who is now 23 and a very good centre-back, alongside Yilmaz, Gonzalez, Diamande, Adli, Haji, Iling Jr. and Arezzo. Samuel Iling Jr. has been a great pickup in this save for under 5 million. I will say there isn't much depth on the bench, but we are developing some good academy players that I've loaned out, so hopefully next season they can play a part in our first team. And now if we have a look at the season preview, let's see where we're predicted to finish. We are predicted second place, 9-5 odds to win the title. Celtic are still favourites, and that's bound to be the case, to be honest, when they're adding the likes of Andre Silva to their squad, as well as Angel Correa and Lucas Toussaint. We're improving, but they are also improving, so it's not going to be an easy job here. You will see the facilities have got much better during our time as Rangers boss. We're going to try and keep heading in that direction. And this season, we actually made it out of the Champions League phase. We came up against RB Leipzig in a knockout playoff round and beat them by 1 goal thanks to Brandon Williams, which set up a round of 16 clash against Chelsea. But there's a twist. Because of some injuries and also some squad registration issues due to the fact that I'd signed too many foreign players, we actually had to use a lot of our young players in our Champions League run, including guys like this, Chris Eady, who clearly isn't good enough to play for Rangers at the highest level in this save, But he did, and he played against Chelsea. Now, we drew 1-1 in the leg at Stamford Bridge, so when they came to the Ibrox and this ball fell to Edie in the area, I couldn't believe that he was the one to put us in the lead. Unfortunately though, Chelsea have quality in this save, and it was Raheem Sterling who came forward and made it 1-1. That was 2-2 on aggregate, and we were heading into extra time, or at least we thought we were, because we had a corner in the 95th minute. And as the ball got swung into the area, I don't think anybody would have thought it would be this man again, Edie, to score past Sanchez. He managed to bag 2 goals. That made it 3-2 on aggregate, and we were heading to a quarter final. We came up against Porto and lost 4-3 at the Dragao, so this match at the Ibrox was super important, and Sahraoui got us off to a great start in the 52nd minute. That levelled the tie at 4-4, and now we had the chance to take the lead. Haji finding Arezzo to make it 5-4 in aggregate. Haji then had a free kick in the 75th minute, and the deflected strike allowed us to go 6-4 up. Porto are a strong squad though, and we're in the quarterfinals for a reason. Cambiasso driving forward found the Masso, who put them 1 goal behind us, and some poor defensive play led to them getting the ball again in the 83rd minute, picking it up through Goncalo Borges, who managed to slot it in to make it 6-6. But we were the team for late goals, and in added time again, with 90 minutes gone, Sahraoui brought the ball down, find Emil Holm, and watch this strike. That made it 7-6 on aggregate, and it meant that we were heading to a Champions League semi-final. Unfortunately, we came up against Arsenal and got battered by an ungodly scoreline that I don't want to talk about, but that was a far better run than we've had before. Okay, I can't keep it from you, but I'm not going to say it. I'll just let you guys look at what the aggregate scoreline was there between Rangers and Arsenal. Not our finest moment, but it was a great year for us again. We managed to win the Scottish Cup, beating Hibernian 2-1 in the final, the Viaplay Cup, aka the League Cup. They beat us 2-1 in the final. Clearly it was their year, and they managed to win that trophy. And then in the league, we were good again. 98 points, 7 points clear of Celtic chasing us, who had a good season, mind you, but it wasn't enough to overthrow us. Arezzo scored 22. It wasn't our finest season by any stretch. You can see that our squad is getting quite light now in terms of players, and we definitely need to add some talent, but we had some great performers. I mean, Arezzo is bound to attract interest. Haji was great this year, as was Adley, Diamonde, Samuel Ling Jr., and we go into our 5th and final season with 16 million to spend, £90,000 of wage budget. The club is still developing their new stadium. Our facilities are pretty much maxed out too, so now we go in to our final year. We need some big transfers if we want to make this team a club that's capable of competing for the UCL. And this was genuinely our biggest window yet. They keep getting better and better. And I just want to say, every single season I've operated, other than season 1, at a net transfer profit, always selling far more than we spend. So this success at Rangers has to have that in mind. And the first player to leave us was Nikola Kavlina. Clearly our run in the Champions League has attracted eyes across the world, because he was one of many starters to leave. He's gone to Al Ahly out in Saudi Arabia on 400 grand a week. I mean, good luck to him. He needs to go for that kind of money. £15 million rising to 20 million is the fee we received, which wasn't too bad. We also saw the departure of Franco Gonzalez, signed in season 2. He now moves on to Damac for £18 million, where he'll be playing with Todd Cantwell. Haji had that great season last year, and it's meant that he's got to move, age 28, Al Ittihad on 350 grand a week. I don't think any Rangers fans will begrudge him for going. He's going to make a fortune. He was great for us while he was here. Some great performances in the last 2 seasons particularly. 25 million rising to 29.5. Arguably the best bit of business though is Amin Adley, who we signed on the free last year, and now we turn that around into a major sale to Al Nassr. Again, he's getting some crazy money there. The fans really liked him after last season with how good he was. £29 million is the fee though, rising to 32. You can see here, I'm not just making it up, the fans did actually like him. I'm not just speaking for these virtual Rangers fans, but yes, Adley has moved on. That was some big departures, but a lot of money to reinvest. Firstly, our new backup goalkeeper is going to be Alexander Schlegler on a free from RB Salzburg. A new squad level defender is Attila Moshi, who we've picked up on a free contract, having left Rizapor out in Turkey. Amir Richardson is a lovely pickup, age 25. The Moroccan international is a great midfield option, a left footer joining us from Reims, where he's been exceptional, but left after the club got relegated. Leonardo Lello is a new left back option, 27 years of age, a Portuguese international who we've picked up on a free after his time at Man City, Everton and Sporting Club de Portugal. The fact that he was playing for teams like this shows you how good he was. was, and he should easily find his level here in Scotland. And our final free contract was Jamie Sion. I don't really know him as a player. He's a 30-year-old Spaniard who we found at Pachuca. He was let go on a free. He was really good for them. Our scouts raved, and he's a great extra option in the squad to have. Our new goalkeeper to replace Cavlina, though, is going to be Chris Brady, the USA international, signing for $4.9 million from Chicago Fire, where again, he's been exceptional for the last 4 years. Daniel Gonzalez was picked up for $1.7 million, a Chilean international 25-year-old centre-back signing from Universidad Catalánica, a team out in Chile, and he's been really good for them too. So again, another pretty good signing. But these three transfers are where it gets really good. We have bought in Wanderson Villela, who is a new gen player who looks like he's going to be the future of Brazil's team, and he's here at Rangers. He plays off the left with 18 dribbling, 17 finishing, great passing technique, aggression, bravery. It won't be long before this guy's a Rangers fan favourite. We've picked him up for $6.25 million, and he has got a huge future. Hassan Adrago is also into the club, 21 years of age, the football manager legend that he is, has signed for $24.5 million from Schalke and is going to be an excellent addition to our team. But the great business continued. Our final transfer of this rebuild, arguably our best one, Michael Olise, one of the best right wingers in the world, has signed on a free. He was let go by Crystal Palace after some great seasons for them, particularly last year. We had clubs bidding from all over the world for him, but for some reason he decided Rangers was the place to be, and we are delighted to have him. And now if we have a look at our best 11, I think this team is absolutely stacked with talent now. Chris Brady is in goal, Emil Holm, Daniel Gonzalez and Ronnie Edwards make up a back line with Brandon Williams, with Richardson, Diamonde, Udrago, Olise, Samuel Ling Jr. and Arezzo. You can see we've improved the squad as well, with much better options throughout the bench, and that has led to us finally being favourites for the title. Two of the best players in the league have just joined us, Udrago and Olise. We've got 8 to 11 odds of winning it. We are the favourites and I'm sure we will, but of course this year we're pushing for one thing and one thing only. We want to win the Champions League. And this final season lived up to expectation. We had some unbelievable results. Let's start off with the league, which we should just talk about. We have won this 5 years in a row, every single season. We've built our squad up year by year, and this season has really blown Celtic out the water. 102 points, way clear of 74 with Celtic, so that's one trophy in the bag. We were in the League Cup final this year against Hibernian. We beat them 4-2, and it was another clash with Celtic for the Scottish Cup. And with 2 trophies already under our belt and plenty of wins against Celtic in this rebuild, we got off to a flyer through Adrago. Ronnie Edwards burst forward from defence, the captain of the club now, to find Michael Olise, who managed to work his way into the area and curl a brilliant finish to make it 2. And to finish the game off in style, Richardson came forward to the edge of the area, again found Olise, another one of his trademark curlers. That made it 3. That was 3 domestic trophies won. We had cleared the table yet again, the clean sweep, but it was the Champions League that we were after this year, and again, we went on a pretty decent run. Our first test was in the round of 16, where we faced off against Inter Milan. We had a man sent off, as did them, and this goal from Olise allowed us to win 4-3 on aggregate. That moved us into the next round, where we faced off against Arsenal, and after beating them at the Ibrox, we came up against them at the Emirates, and Brandon Williams scored a screamer. Now, we did win the tie on aggregate 4-1, so it's hard to say that we got lucky, but when you see the stats from this game, 4xG for Arsenal and no goals, you have to think this might be our year. But then we came up against German giants Bayern Munich in the semi-final, and after a 0-0 draw at the Allianz Arena, we needed a win at home at the Ibrox to head to a Champions League final. Arezzo scored that goal you just saw in the 42nd minute, and then in the 43rd minute, we had Villela score to make it 2. That man Villela caused all kind of problems, got it to Williams, out to Diamonde, he found Adrago in the area, a brilliant passing move led to Holmes scoring, into Rasking actually, who made it 3. All of this is happening within 10 minutes of in-game time. Rasking again crossed the ball in, Villela made it 4. Harry Kane came forward for Bayern Munich in the 70th minute though, he pulled it to Gutierrez, who found Stiller in the area to make it 4-1. But an 85th minute corner sealed the deal, Olise finding Van der Berg through to Diamonde, and we did it. We somehow beat Bayern Munich 5-1 in a Champions League semi-final, one of the most incredible results in Rangers history, and that set up a UCL final clash against none other than Real Madrid. Now everyone says Real Madrid just know how to win the Champions League, and Bellingham proved that because in the 2nd minute he scored. But only a few minutes later, we might have been experienced in big games like this in Europe, but Olise found Adrago and our young side equalised. Out of nowhere, Jeremy Frimpong hit this horror 2-footed challenge and got sent off for Real. And it took nearly another 40 minutes before we were able to get a goal against the 10 men, Viella getting into the area and finding Arezzo. At this point, we were 2-0 up with 30 minutes to go against a 10-man Real Madrid. Could we hold on? Well, a quick counter-attack through Endrick found Vinicius Jr., who out of nowhere was able to make it 2-2. And as the game drew to a close, all Rangers fans' hearts were in their mouth as Vinny Jr. found Valverde, back to Vinicius again, and it was that man Jude Bellingham heading home that made it 3-2. It did mean, unfortunately, we didn't do enough. We lost the Champions League final in our 5th and final season. Our rebuild, I suppose, is now a failure. And it's really hard to say that when we have won consistent trophies domestically. We've managed to make this Rangers team a Champions League contender on a regular basis, whilst in a negative transfer balance, always selling more than we spent. But unfortunately, we wanted to win that Champions League trophy, we could not. Granted, if we were in the Europa League or the Conference, I think we'd storm it at this point, but it's so unfortunate we have lost that. I really thought it could have been our year. They are still in the process of building that new stadium, but the club has definitely headed in the right direction. Our reputation is up, our facilities are great, and we had some great performances this year from some of our players, including some of those new incomings. In fact, most of our new incomings were our best players. Elise was great, Adrego did well, Arezzo, Danilo, all of these players performing to the highest level. Vanderson Valella maybe didn't have the best year, but is pretty much going to be one of the world's best players in this rebuild. So anyone who continues it over on Patreon, I'm sure you'll have a great time with him. So our Rangers rebuild, I'm going to say it's a failure because of what we aim for. I think some people would consider it a success, I'm sure, but I wanted to push on in Europe. So for the first time in a while, I actually think we haven't quite made it here with Rangers. Let me know your thoughts though. Was this a success? Did we fail? Thank you for watching either way. Like the video if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.